Father's Day is coming up, and I know just what I want to make for my dad. You see, my dad's absolute favorite food is prime rib. Now, picking up a prime rib from Costco isn't exactly cheap, at $150. But considering that taking the family out to a good steakhouse is around $70 per person, getting one from Costco is about a third of the price. The only question is, do you think you can cook it as good as a steakhouse? The answer? Absolutely yes, if you sous vide it. So, we'll start with a whole bulb of garlic. Honestly, peeling garlic can be such a pain because the skin sticks to the flesh. But the trick is to cut the bottom off and crush it just a little. Then the skin will slip right off the clove. So what the heck is a sous vide anyway? Well, it's a French technique where you vacuum seal whatever you're cooking and then submerge it in a water bath at a very precise temperature for an extended period of time. It sounds fancy, but sous vide wands are pretty cheap these days, as are vacuum sealers. You could easily get both for about $150, and it's so worth it. The problem is, vacuum seal bags aren't usually big enough to fit a whole prime rib. So here's where I'm improvising. I'm cutting open 2 vacuum seal bags and using the heat seal function to just stitch together the sides and the bottom. So I'm turning the 2 bags into one big bag, big enough to fit the whole prime rib. Now I get to get stabby. I'm puncturing the meat just deep enough to stuff in the cloves of garlic. It's honestly weirdly satisfying to shove the cloves into the little pukas and see them disappear. You can really use whatever fresh herbs or spice rub you want. Rosemary, thyme, Cajun spices. But to me, all you really need is some good, coarse, fresh cracked pepper, and some good Hawaiian salt. Honestly, what you want to taste is the flavor of the beef, and some good salt and pepper is all you really need to draw out that succulent, savory flavor. Just apply a liberal coating to all sides and seal up the prime rib in the bag. So, what's the big deal with a sous vide? Well, especially with things like a steak, a roast, or a chicken, it's honestly so easy to overcook the meat, leaving it dry and tasteless. Or when you're roasting it in the oven, the heat only hits the outside and not the inside. So the outside is overcooked and the inside is still raw. But by using the sous vide, you can control the exact temperature the meat will get to and never go beyond, and keep it at that temperature until it penetrates the whole thing, so it's perfectly cooked evenly throughout. In my case, I'm going to go for 135 degrees, a perfect medium, for 9 hours to penetrate the whole rib. Really, it's so easy. Season the meat, seal it in a bag, dump it in a bath, and forget about it, and it comes out perfect every time. While the meat is cooking, we have plenty of time to work on our sides. One of my favorite things when going to, say, Ruth's Chris is a perfectly cooked piece of asparagus. Somehow they make a simple vegetable seem so high class. One of the tricks is to peel the skin off the bottom of the asparagus. You don't have to, of course, but the skin there can be tough and fibrous. Peeling it makes the whole asparagus tender and delicate. Be sure to trim the ends too, where they could have gotten dried out and tough. Then, we're going to toss them in some good extra virgin olive oil and set them in a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes. The asparagus will come out perfectly crisp and not mushy. Of course, at Ruth's Chris, they serve it with a rich hollandaise sauce. But growing up, my popo would just give me a spoon of mayonnaise to dip my vegetables in. So I love it that way. Of course, if you're gonna have steak, you gotta have potatoes, right? I mean, meat and potatoes, they just go together. But I can't decide whether I want mashed potatoes or baked potatoes. Your brain ever just freeze while the waiter is standing there and waiting for you to choose which one you want? So, what I'm going to do is make mashed potatoes and dress them up to have the flavor of baked potatoes. I'm cheating so I can have my cake and eat it too. So what we're gonna do is peel our potatoes, chop them up into about eighths, then gently boil them for about 20 minutes. The potatoes should come out just soft enough to mash up. You know those powdered mashed potatoes that you just add water to? I hate those. I want my mashed potatoes to taste like real potatoes. When you think baked potato, you always see them topped with sour cream and chives, right? So I've got a bunch of nice fresh chives, and I'm gonna mince them up and toss them in my mashed potatoes. Of course, you can add as little or as much as you want, but my dad just loves the fresh aroma of chives, so I'm gonna use the whole bunch. If you want, you can throw in some salt and butter too, but honestly, I don't feel like it's necessary. When the potatoes are done, just pour off the water, and then comes the fun part, mashing them up. Now I'm gonna toss in a whole tub of sour cream. First, this is gonna give it that yummy baked potato flavor. And second, this will give the mashed potatoes that super creamy texture you're looking for. So it works for both. Then, in goes the chives. The heat of the potatoes will warm up the chives just enough for them to release their aroma throughout. Alright, last thing. Since we're having all this meat, I feel like we should have a salad so we can at least pretend to offset it with something healthy. Honestly, I don't really care for iceberg lettuce. It's not as crispy as romaine and not as tender and leafy as Manoa lettuce. And it's not even very green, so it's not all that nutrient dense. But when going to a steakhouse, one of the classic items is a wedge salad. Anthony Bourdain once called the iceberg wedge a token of open hostility towards the vegetable world. I mean, iceberg is the least nutritious lettuce to begin with. And then we're just gonna blanket the whole thing in blue cheese dressing and bacon. So it's not really all that healthy. But it is rich and decadent and has just enough freshness to wake up your palate between bites of meat. Besides, my dad's favorite salad dressing just happens to be blue cheese anyway, so it's perfect to go alongside his beloved prime rib. Okay, after about 9 hours, the prime rib should be done. It's so exciting cutting open that vacuum seal bag, like unwrapping a very fancy Christmas present. Be careful not to spill any of the au jus that's in the bag. That's perfect for dipping in, the way they do at all the fancy steakhouses. Now the sous vide cooks the meat perfectly and evenly throughout, but there is no Maillard reaction in the bathtub, so it's missing that yummy browned crust on the outside. But that's really simple to fix. We're just gonna slather the entire thing in a whole stick of butter. Then stick it under the broiler on high for about 5 minutes on each side. And that's it! My sous vide prime rib. Okay, come on. Just look at that. My mouth is watering just looking at all that meat. It's perfectly cooked evenly throughout. It's exactly what you'd get at an expensive, fancy steakhouse for a fraction of the price. And it really wasn't all that difficult. So what's the deal with my dad and prime rib anyway? Well, honestly, when he was growing up, times were a lot tougher than they are today, and my family wasn't all that well to do. It was the 50s, and red meat like steak was seen as a sign of luxury and prosperity. My dad would go to school and be happy with just a scoop of rice and some gravy on it so he could enjoy the taste of meat. But when he finally made a career for himself, it became one of his most sought-after desires. Then came the 80s, and they realized that red meat isn't all that healthy for you. So my mom wouldn't let him eat it all that often. But since it's Father's Day, I really want to treat him to his favorite thing. Oh, and when you go to fancy restaurants, they always serve you some bread rolls to go with it, right? You've probably heard of King's Hawaiian rolls. They've gotten pretty popular all over the mainland. Here in Hawaii, King's was just one of the many bakeries making what we call sweetbread. Originally called pau doce, it's really a legacy of the Portuguese who came to work on our sugarcane plantations. It quickly became popular throughout the islands for its super light and fluffy texture and its hint of sweetness. So yummy, and the perfect way to start everything off. Okay, let's dig in. During the super weight-conscious 80s, my mom would eat just a half a head of iceberg lettuce for dinner. I kept telling her it wasn't nutritious enough. But that was the 80s for you. This wedge salad, though, is nothing like that. This salad is completely decadent, and we're just pretending to eat something healthy. This is the way vegetables should taste. My wife loves potatoes, and these potatoes are the stuff of dreams. They're so creamy and comforting. The best of both worlds between a baked potato and a mashed potato. Look how beautiful the green is on that asparagus. Perfectly crisp and delicate and not mushy. Back when I was a kid, my dad's favorite place to go was the prime rib buffet at the old Flamingo Chuck Wagon. It was a lot of food at a good price, but honestly, my prime rib is gonna be so much better. But we've been waiting long enough. On to the main event. This prime rib is so tender to cut through. At nice steakhouses, you also get a bit of creamy horseradish to add a creamy kick to your meat. That's actually a trick my dad taught me too. Even if you buy a cheap hamburger and add some creamy horseradish to it, you can pretend that you're eating something much fancier. But this here is the real deal. Just a quick dunk in the au jus we saved for even more beefy flavor. OMG! That is so incredible! The flavor of the beef just shines through. It's so succulent, so savory, so juicy and tender. I totally get my dad's obsession with this. Forget going to Cattle Company or High's Steakhouse or even Ruth's Chris. I could turn my own dining room into a fancy steakhouse for my dad. Just a small token of appreciation for all the love, support, and guidance he's given me throughout my whole life.